Hello and welcome to Tuesday Talks at Mary Spring Nature Center for 2026. My name is John Fromer, the Program Director and your host. Today's Tuesday Talk is generously sponsored by Camden River House. Recordings are made possible by the Cascade Foundation. You can find today's talk and previous talks on our YouTube channel. Mary Spring is open every day of the year from dawn to dusk free of charge. Find out more at maryspring.org. Today's talk on the Warblers of Midcoast Maine is presented by Tim Shaw.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I know it's a snowy day, and you're saying, well, why are we talking about warblers now? Well, we're less than 75 days away from their return, so it's something to look forward to. This weather will turn. So way this is going to work, it's going to be if you have questions, raise your hand or something, or so I can talk and answer your questions best I can. We're going to go over a lot of information here. You don't have to take notes because it's all going to be recorded, and you're going to be prepared. You can go back and look on YouTube and get all the information you want to go on your own Warbler Safari this spring. So without further ado, I'm going to start the presentation here, and we're going to have a few introductory slides before we get into the birds here. First of all, I guess people want to know, what is a warbler? You know, basically a warbler is a man-made term. It's basically a grouping, a label we put on about 20 or 20 species that can be observed here in the mid-coast that may or may not be related, but they have something in common. They eat insects, they're small birds, they're migratory birds. That is, they don't live here year-round. They come up here to either pass through to go to breeding grounds, or in some of the species breed right here in Midcoast Maine. And we're going to go over those. And everybody looks at them and says, oh, the little cute birds. I want you all to think specifically that these are Olympic athletes. They have the stamina of a marathoner and the agility of a gymnast. They come from a long way, and they have to they use their bodies unbelievably ways to twist and turn to get their food and make a living. So don't think of them as little cute things. Think of them as Olympic athletes. Okay, all right. Like I said, most winter and overwinter in South America, Central America, and in southern U.S. And they can see here as they come to their nesting sites in the boreal forest. When is this going to happen? Prime time in, let's say, Knox County, in my experience, it starts at mid-April through May. That's when the vast majority of the birds are going to be coming north. Some are going to be, like I said, passing through, going all the way up into northern Canada. Some are going to be just setting up shop right here at Mary Spring. The breeding is mid-May through mid-August. It could be one or two clutches or broods rather, of young. And then the fall migration, the reverse the thing, is going to go from late August to October. And so if you miss them, some of them coming up in the spring, you can see them coming back in the fall. And this is really important that I knew there was a lot here, but really Maine is uniquely percentages is that we have a huge percentage of the world's warbler population during breeding season, estimated 5 to 19%. That's a tremendous number of birds. So there's no lack of opportunity was what we have here is the best thing I can say. All right. Where's the best places to see them right here in Midcoast Maine? Well, one, right at Mary Spring Nature Center. And we're going to go over the species you can see and where they are located there. Beach Hill is another great spot that I go to. I go to Clark's Island a lot, Sears Island, and occasionally every other year I'll make a trip over to Monhegan Island. I also like this right off of Route 17, the Coastal Mountains Land Trust Sides Preserve. Any place along the McGonagall and St. George Rivers where there's water, especially in the spring. And Erickson Field Preserve, which has a little bit of different habitat. They attract a few different type of warblers because they have especially on the path over from Erickson Fields to Beach Hills, more of an open forest. And you can find some different warblers there we'll go into. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Why should you go on a warbler safari? One, it's a spectacle of nature. It's evolved over millions of years, and these are colorful birds and just enjoyable. And what do you need to get a good thing? Real simple. Oops, that was pretty quick there. I'll repeat it. You just need sturdy shoes, sun and bug protection, binoculars or a camera with a telephoto lens. Put the Merlin app on your phone. It's a free app from Cornell University. It allows you to identify the song and tell you what bird it is. It's pretty accurate. It's not 100%. I'd say it's good 85 to 90%. But if you're starting out, it's good to have that. Even if you are experienced and you've been laying off over a winter and you're not up to it, put it in your pocket and have it on. And you hear something, you can flip your phone out and figure out what it is. Okay. And also, why should you learn warbler songs? Why is the visual identification, the oral identification important? Because the different species have different ecological niches. Like some birds will be on the ground, some birds will be the top of the tallest trees we have in the area, which are these I believe, these black spruce trees. So if you know the bird's sound, and you hear it, you know where to look initially. And believe me, these are small birds. And if you've got old eyes like I do, it helps to get a head start on where you think they are. Okay. The species you're most likely to see here in the mid-coast, these are the top 10 that I over the last years that I'm pretty sure. Yellow rump warbler, northern parula, yellow warbler, common yellowthroat, chestnut-sided warbler, palm warbler, black-footed green warbler, ovenbird, American redstart, and black and white warbler. All of these can easily be seen in mid-coast, but not all year. Some of them they're easier to see in the spring, some in the fall, some all summer, because they're going to be nesting, and some of the ones that are nesting low in the ground are easier to see when the trees are all leafed out. So that's what we're going to go into here. Okay, and the next 10, we're going to go into these a little less. They're here. They're harder to see. There's fewer of them, but we'll go into that a little bit. Again, little thoughts here. I want you to say is that if you want to go out and do this, patience is your best tool. Just don't move suddenly and let the birds come to you if you're on a path. Lots of warblers have both sexual dimorphism and spring and fall breeding juvenile phases. So sometimes it's really hard to figure out what it is if you haven't looked at them over a couple of years. Don't let that worry you. Just enjoy it. Again, use your ears as much as your eyes. Have fun. You may make a few new feathered friends, and we're going to go into that. And these birds are pretty smart, but they don't read the guidebooks. So be prepared for birds breaking the rules, as I would say. Always have the unexpected. Okay, we're going to go into now the first one you're going to see. Let me put this out of the way here. Is the yellow rump warbler. This is by far the most common warbler we have. It makes up, I would say, I've been heard anywhere from to 70% of the warbler biomass. And this is what they sound like. And the reason they're so successful, they can eat bugs and berries. And they do. They're unbelievable athletes, like I said. They can maneuver around. They can jump off that perch and nab a black fly in the midair and come back in on the perch. Very, very, very unbelievable. What you're hearing there is the chip calls when they're trying to locate each other in a dense area, let other birds know where they are. And they're got a lot of personality. And I know one of you may not know is, why does a warbler cock his head, or most birds cock their heads like that? It's because their eyeballs are fixed to their sockets. They cannot roll their eyes. That's sort of an environmental adaptation to allow them to have the largest brain they can in the volume of their skull, so they don't waste energy putting in muscles to move their eyeballs around their sockets. So, but they're amazing. They're a good sign of spring. You'll see plenty of these in the spring. They'll make a huge forage from down south. They're one of the earlier birds that arrive. They'll be in places at that time where there's any type of bugs. So anywhere near a river or a shallow lake, they'll be around the edges there. Any gnats, mosquitoes, midges, that type of thing that are coming out. And what's always good is to get what I call a drop. All these birds migrate at night. They come down. And what you wanted, it's really exciting to go, in the spring, you go to one place in the morning, there's nothing. You go the next day, the bird's alive with these sounds and these birds. They've arrived overnight and they're hungry. And they'll also eat berries, like I said. And I'm going to stop this for 1 second. What I want to explain here is this is what I call a flying puffball. They're really young. This is in the fall when they're coming back down south, and it's Mother Nature has a way, and sometimes it's cruel, that the warbler population, the warblers last, let's say 4 to 5 years, if they can make it through the first year. Unfortunately, that first year is a very high mortality. It's estimated that about 80% of them don't make it. But that 20% that does make it, once they learn that migration route, they can, again, like I say, 4 or 5, maybe even more. And that's the way the population is, stable population. That's what has to happen. They have to have at least about a 20% of birds make it to the first year. So when you see one bird like that, you may not see it again because he's got a rough road to go there. A good place to go see these birds. I don't know if you can see these. They're eating wax bayberries. Is either Beech Hill or Clark's Island in the fall. The yellow rump warbler is one of the few warblers that can digest those waxy berries. So they've got a food source for themselves, and they go for it. Once they learn where those bushes are, they're there every year on their migration route. So it is amazing, and you do know we're looking at direct descendants from the dinosaurs, don't you? I know people probably you all know this, but these birds, they're descended from theropods, the dinosaurs. They have the feathers and scales on their feet and legs. They have the skeletal structure of a dinosaur, and they inherited the migratory instinct from the dinosaurs. So what you're seeing when you watch these warblers is something that's been going, it's evolved over millions of years. Yeah. And like I said, the best places if you want to see these, I think, are in the fall, Beech Hill, also Clark's Island, anywhere where there's bayberries. In the spring, anywhere where there's water, you can see that, where there's bugs. And a lot of these birds, they don't migrate. Why they're hard to see in the summer is a lot of them continue on north from our area. Some do nest in the mid-coast, but a lot of them go way up, straight up into Canada. So that's part of their learned migratory route. But they do have a lot of personality. They can they know you're there. They're fairly tolerant of you as long as you don't make any sudden movements. They'll pose for you, which is something a lot of other birds won't. So, but it's amazing how they can do that. Okay, this is the next bird that you most likely see, northern parula. Hope you can hear that's a little different. It's really a trilling song. Yeah. Again, they do nest in our area. They'll be here spring, summer, and fall. And they're easier to see in the spring because they're lower on the ground and there's not as much leaves. They tend to go higher in the canopy. I'd say anywhere from 20 to 50 feet in the canopy. So it's kind of harder to see. But in the spring, they can be right down near the ground in alders and shrubs looking for bugs. So they're just unbelievable what nature's done there. Yeah. 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 You can see this is a picture taken in the spring with the trees just starting to leaf out. Right. Here's another. Next one is the yellow warbler. These are very common. I find a good place anywhere near water. Like basically, you can go right over to the snowball around Hosmer Pond. All the vegetation that they planted in around Hosmer Pond next to the parking lot. There'll be at least 4 or 5 pair nest there every year, and you'll see them flitting around and raising their broods right there. Real simple. You just go walk, get out of your car, and they'll be there. And they have a nice song. They're fairly tolerant. And I know I'll go into this here is that, like I said, once they learn the migratory route, they can live for, I'm 4 or 5, maybe even longer. And they have great memories. These birds can actually remember to go right to the exact same place to nest. And I'm talking the same tree that they nested before, earlier the year before. And I believe they can identify you if they can recognize you. I've had at least 3 of these birds who I've seen year to year in the exact same spot, and I believe it's the same bird, and the bird doesn't run away, which it'll come up to me. So it's a wild animal, but it does. I believe it does remember that you're not a threat. So that's kind of interesting, especially this one right here. If you notice, he's got a little like a birthmark on his left cheek there, that little black dot. I saw that bird 3 years in a row on the St. George, and that bird would come out in this early spring and show himself to me and give me the song. So it's kind of a unique thing. Yeah. Now here's obviously a young one who's still got the downy type feathers on him. He was hatched over near Hosmer Pond. Yeah. We're just all right. This bird, the common yellowthroat, probably the #1 warbler at Mary Spring. And there's Mama gathering the groceries to feed the brood. They're more of a ground nesting bird. They'll be in that underbrush under the power lines area, and they'll be there all summer long. And if you don't hear that, you'll hear that song and warbling, but you also hear the chip noises as they use to locate each other in the dense brush. You'll get to those in a second here. Yeah. Yeah. That's the male. That's the female. And you can see they're gathering the groceries when a bird has a bug in its mouth like that. It's gathering the food for the brood. So that's what's going on there. You hear that chip, chip, chip? You can't, you'll hear that all throughout Mary Spring in the summer as they're down in the brush. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Like I said, I think almost 85% of these pictures here are from Mary Spring of these becoming yellow threads. We didn't have the bugs, we wouldn't have the birds. All right. Should be coming up to the next one here that's also a big resident of Mary Spring in our Midcoast area here. Yeah. Here's, I think that's the last. Yeah, okay. All right. This chestnut-sided warbler is, again, big one at Mary Spring. They're there all year. They breed right there at Mary Spring. They're easy to see. They very conspicuous, very easily identifiable song, and they'll come out and greet you. This is an immature one here, a phase. This is the mature one. So you can see the different coloration and the thing. Immature, right here. Another immature. That's it. And then the mature one, right there. So obviously in the spring, you don't see the immature ones, you just see the mature ones. Yeah. If you're still and they're hanging around here, these guys will come right up to you. I've had them almost land on my shoulder there at Mary Spring. Pretty amazing birds. Yeah. And they're trying to track their mate or defend their territory and make themselves look as big as they can, which is hard to do when you're only about 4 inches excluding the tail. Yeah. And they're great warblers, warbling away there. An immature one right there at Mary Spring. It was probably born right there at Mary Spring. Yeah. Yeah. And these are definitely born. See how downy the feathers are? These were they're just like recently hatched right there at Mary Spring. All right. Here's another warbler that is again, it's hard to see in the summer, but it's really a good chance to see them in the spring and the fall. The palm warbler. They don't, I don't find them too many of them on the coast in the middle of the summer. Very distinctive call, very easy to, very pleasant thing. travel in huge flocks in the spring. I know. Yeah. I don't know if you, well, hold on here. It's a good point. Let me back up here. Can I back up this up a second? Oh, hold on here. Well, maybe I can't. We'll see if I can get it going here. I can stop. Okay, here we go. I don't know if you can see in the picture, there's a midge right there. That's why that bird is up in the tree early in the year. It's along the river, and there's a little insect. That's what they're doing. These birds are up there trying to nab these little insects because that's the primary food source. There's early in the year when they're migrating, first migrating up there. Boom, they can see that. Boom, they'll eat that bird ate that insect. That's why if you do go in the spring, you may want to bring some insect repellent. Right. Here you go. Here's a star at Mary Spring, black-throated green warbler. You'll hear them all summer long. You can hear them in the parking lot because they're at the top of those black spruce trees in the parking lot at Mary Spring. They're hard to see though because they're very high in the canopy most of the year. But every once in a while, they'll come down and you can do it. But you'll hear them. That sound travels a great distance, and they're up there in the trees. Yeah. So they're more they're more in the forested areas there. Right there at Mary Spring. Right. Here's one everybody knows this one. Everybody knows it. It's a big songbird. And I'm gonna stop it right there. Ovenbird also is the easier one to see because it nests on the ground. That bird has got nesting material right there. So they're low, and if you keep your eyes open when you walk around into the forest there around Mary Spring, they'll be on the ground. You'll probably flush them a little bit before you see them, and they're there and they're building their nest, doing their thing. And I'm going to show you one other one here, I think. Oh yeah. This guy, they're not happy to see you, they show this. They open their feathers up on their crown and show you their rufous there. That bird is telling me to back off. That this is his tree, his area, and he wants me out of there. So they can communicate verbally. I mean, visually as well as verbally. That bird's telling me to back off. Hey, he's back. Back off, buddy. You're too close. Yeah. But this is another bird that I've seen him 2 years in a row, and it's the same bird. I'm very convinced that in the exact same spot, and he won't run away from me. He comes right up, stares me down, and he knows I'm not going to do anything to him. American redstart. This is one where it's a good example of the sexual dimorphism here. This is the male. These birds have bigger tails, a little bit bigger, and this is the female. So if you notice, no red, even though it's a redstart, they got the yellow and black. Males, black and orange. Females, the yellow. And they do nest right there. There's one right in Mary Spring. They do. And these are flighty birds. They make the males are very showy. Females a little harder, a little more reserved. But they'll pose for you right there at Mary Spring. Let you know that they're there. So, pretty amazing. There's one that's probably an immature. It's a young one. So yeah, here's the male. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of these will be around the old apple trees and whatnot because full of bugs. A lot of trees that aren't treated anymore, they attract a lot of bugs. All right, here's another one. It's Mary Springer, the black and white warbler. Everybody's heard this one. And you're almost these like to be in a spot which goes from light to dark. So anywhere you got a path that goes to a field that goes through dense wood right at the edge, you walk in, you'll hear that noise. That bird is right there. He's in the shadow usually, checking what's going on. And they're all throughout Mary Spring. Yeah. They can these birds they can walk up and down the trees almost like nuthatches and whatnot and pick the insects off. They're very adaptable to that. Yeah. Yeah. They'll pose for you during the breeding season. Magnolia warbler. Now they're hard. Now we're into the ones that are harder to see. These are not as they're not as many of these. I got these the bottom 10. Yeah. Hmm. All right, immature. That's an immature one. This is a Wilson's warbler. Getting more of a lower ground bird. Harder to find. Some years we have more than others. Last 2 years we've had quite a few. That's one at Murray Spring right there, an immature one. But they're very distinctive with that black top, or toupee, I call it. Yeah, pretty amazing. And bay-breasted warbler. These again, we've had a good year. Last year was a great year for this bird. A lot of them are around. Yeah. This is where I'll give a plug in for Sears Island. Uh, it's a known migrant trap in the fall, where the birds will migrate at night, land in Sears Island, then gather toward the causeway in the morning before they fly off. It's a great place to see a lot of these birds in the fall. They're low, they're benched up, and you can see these birds there. Again, this fall, you can tell by the color of the leaves there. Blackpoll warbler. Very softly. There you go. Sorry. Canada. That's right here at Mary Spring. I only seen a handful there, but they are there. Unique call. Mhm. Like I said, the best place to see this bird is Erickson Fields Preserves, that path as you leave the fields, open forest. There's usually 2 or 3 pair there every year. This guy's everywhere. You can find them anywhere there's pine trees. So just not a lot of them there. All right. This last one's a ringer. When I said the birds don't read the guidebooks. This is a Townsend warbler. I saw it last year, and I didn't know what it was because I'd never seen one before. And I Fortunately, in Midcoast, we're blessed with great bird experts who are willing to share all their knowledge. I immediately sent the pictures to someone I met, and he immediately identified it and went back and verified the next day. And this is only the fifth sighting of this bird in Maine. It's a verified sighting. It's the Townsend Warbler. It usually is in the upper Pacific Northwest, Canada, Alaska, Yukon, Northern California. And you're saying, well, why is it here in Maine? Did it get blown off course? No. It did what my mother warned me about when I was a kid. Don't follow the wrong crowd. This bird was in a crowd of ruby-crowned kinglets who winter in Mexico. Same place this bird winters in Mexico. The kinglets returned to Maine, went up the East Coast instead of the West Coast. He followed them, and there he was. So even though they're smart, they can make mistakes, and this one followed the wrong crowd. So anyway, but that's why you go. You never know what you're going to see. Sometimes you see something different here, and that's really about it. So I don't know if that was worthwhile, educational, or you saw what you wanted to see there. I'm going to stop it right here, and I'm going to unshare the screen, I guess. How do I do that? Oops. Yeah.
Yep, and then I'll reshare.
Unshare. How do I unshare?
Yep, you did.
Did I?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. We have a couple of minutes. I'm going to just put your. Let's see. I want to share that. Good. So I was looking at the different warblers, Tim, and
Yes.
Some have bars on their wings, some have stripes on their front, some have eye rings and things. Is there any commonality
Oh my God.
like, are there groups of warblers that have the same sort of markings, or is it just all independent?
Well, let's see. It's hard because there's the adults, and some of the species, there's different coloration between the male and the female, and then there's the juveniles, which may be independent of all of them. So you saw those chestnut-sided warblers. Well, when they're juveniles, they don't have any chestnut at all on them, and so I think the best thing is I go by first. Beak color was one, because that's hard to change. Two, I look at that. I look at the size, and I look at the habitat. If I'm looking on the ground, I'm looking, or from head height down, I'm looking for the birds that are usually ground nesters. That way, I'm zeroing in. And also that Merlin app, like I said, that's a lifesaver if you're not into this. Have it on in your pocket and on record mode, and you see something, you don't know what it is, pick it up. About 80% of the time, it can tell you what it is, which is a good starting point. So, but I find it difficult to go by. One, it's more behavior. Let's say that those redstarts, they have the long tail. They're constantly flicking that tail as they're moving around, even the males and the females. So if I see that, I know right away that's a redstart. That's the only one that's got that long tail that does that. So I don't know if that helps or not. So.
No, it does. It does. The redstarts kind of look like a towhee, but I think they're must be smaller.
Yeah, a little smaller, but yes, that's a good point. They do. Yeah.
And under the power lines in that scrub, there are pine trees on either side, and I did see a yellow warbler or pine warbler up in there.
Oh, yes.
How far away from the ground nesting birds can you reasonably get? Take a chair out and sit down, kind of a thing.
From the ground nesting birds, I just walk real slow, and I sometimes I'll just stop and listen. And if I hear the sounds coming toward me, I know the birds are moving through. I'll just wait. If the sound is staying a constant distance away, then I'll slowly move up until I can get an idea where I can see the bird. But I go by sound. So
excellent. Anybody have any other questions? If you're remote and you want to put a question in the chat, we can do that. And
Otherwise, fabulous photos, Tim. Just fabulous.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
Wow. And I don't see any other questions. So, well, Tim, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And happy trails on your way back.
Yep.
And let us know when you're over here and we'll go look at owls.
You got it. Sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Tim. Take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He's far away. Yeah. Explore.
Thank you for joining this Tuesday talk. For more information, please visit Mary Spring at www.maryspring.org and also on our YouTube